Homework 29 says factoring a quadratic with a leading coefficient of 1. Quadratic expression just means it's a second degree polynomial. The highest exponent is a 2, so it has that squared term in it. W squared minus 9W plus 20. When I got quadratic expressions, it came from FOILing something out. We did that multiplying binomials, and we got answers that look like this. Now on ALEKS, when they have you do this, they're going to have some weird, crazy explanation that I really don't like. So I recommend on ALEKS that, let me close this here, if we go to our stuff, got to get back to my student view here. If you go to the explain on factoring a quadratic with leading coefficient of 1, you have this ALEKS explanation with this big old long table. If you go over to the side, there's resources from your instructor, me. It says Linda's Notes E31. If you click on that, it's going to download that, and you can bring up that Word document that gives you my directions on how to do your factoring. These are what I'm going to do. So you will probably want to print that out and keep that with your stuff. I'm going to close that. The other place that you can get your notes is if you go under the resources. Now if you go under the resources, up there on the top, all of the notes I've uploaded are here by chapter. We're on chapter 4, but they're numbered the same way as your paper. This one said it was E31, so you'd have to go down to E31. And E31 then would give you Linda's Notes. And again, you could download that. It's not going to like me because I've just downloaded it the other way. But just click on that and you can download Linda's Notes E31. Going to give you the directions for factoring in case it's not quite on your pie chart yet. So either under the explain or under the resources, you can get my notes on how to do this. Now we'll go to how I'm going to do this. So on my notes it says if I'm going to factor my quadratic, it came from FOILing something out, so I'm going to have 2 sets of parentheses. And the first thing I'm going to do is factor this leading term. What times what gave me W squared? Well, to get W squared, I had to have a W and a W. W times W is W squared. The second thing it's going to do is to tell you to figure out the sign. So when you figure out the sign, you're going to look at the end sign. If the end is a positive, you're going to either have a positive and a positive or a negative and a negative. It will be the same as the middle. I should probably put the both of them are the same as the middle because they're both either positive or both either negative. So what I do when this is positive is I look at my middle sign. It's a negative, so I know that a negative times a negative gave me that positive, but still added up to the negative in the middle. Then what I'm going to do is factor the end number. My factors are 20. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. I want the pair of factors that when I do the outside plus the inside, in other words, when I add them together, I get this middle number. Well, in this case, 4 and 5 add up to 9. A minus 4 and a minus 5 would add up to minus 9. So my answer here is that I have W minus 4 times W minus 5. If I wanted to check it, I would FOIL it out. W times W is W squared. W times a minus 5 is a minus 5W. Negative 4 times W is a negative 4W. Negative 4 times a negative 5 is a positive 20. Those 2 middle terms, the outside plus the inside, have to add up to the middle number here, the minus 9W, and it does, so it checks out that that's my answer. When you enter it in, yes, you do need the parentheses, so W minus 4 in parentheses times W minus 5 in parentheses. And that's going to be your answer. So the second one there tells me to factor. It's a quadratic trinomial, means I'm going to have 2 sets of parentheses. factors of x squared, x and x. Looking at my sign, again my end sign is a positive. If my end is a positive, I know it's either going to be both pluses or both minuses, the same as whatever the middle is. The middle is a plus, so it's a plus and a plus. A positive times a positive gives me a positive on the end and adds up to a positive in the middle. Now I'm looking at the factors of the end number. The factors of 64. 1 and 64, 2 and 32, 3 doesn't work, 4 goes in there, 24, 16 times, 5 wouldn't work, 6 wouldn't work, 7 doesn't work, 8 does. 8 times 8 is 64. I'm looking for the pair of factors that's going to give me 20 in the middle. So the pair of factors here that would give me 20, 4 and 16. If I check, my outside product would be 16x, my inside product is 4x, those add up to the 20x in the middle, so my answer, x plus 4 times x plus 16. Now the third one tells me to factor. Again, it's a trinomial, so I know that I have 2 sets of parentheses, factors of y squared, y and y. This time my end is a negative. If the end is a minus, I'm going to have 1 plus and 1 minus. A positive times a negative is a negative. Again, I'm going to factor my end number, 1 times 6 or 2 times 3, but this time, since my signs are opposite, I have to subtract them to get the middle number. I'm really technically adding, but when you add opposites, you subtract. So I think about it this way. Okay, which pair do I subtract? I want to get a minus 1. So if I'm going to do that, 2 minus 3 is minus 1. I need a plus 2 and a minus 3. 2 minus 3 is minus 1. Again, if I wanted to double check, I'm thinking about foiling, taking the outside plus the inside. So the outside pair gives me minus 3y, the inside pair gives me a positive 2y, and sure enough, negative 3y plus 2y is the minus 1y you want in the middle. You could FOIL the whole thing out, but just as a quick check, the outside plus the inside have to be the middle. And so y plus 2 times y minus 3 is my answer. Once we get to 4, 5, and 6, we're factoring a quadratic with a leading coefficient greater than 1, which makes it a little more tricky because we have to think about the outside plus the inside being the middle.